that we're going to go ahead and get started today. And as noted in the announcement, we're going to review the homework assignments that you submitted. So I'll be asking you to share those. So we're going to do kind of a brief sort of look at everyone's submissions. So we're going to go through kind of like with the fruit plate progress. You're going to bring up your colorization project. We're going to talk briefly about each one. And then we're going to do the same for the typography project. But before we get into that, I wanted to go over the next project, the ad revamp assignment. And I thought it would give you something fun to do this weekend and still hit the metrics that we need for the course. So let me go ahead and get that set up. So the ad revamp project is, again, pretending that we're an agency. And this company, Keds, it's a shoe company, has come to us and said, we would like your help to modernize our campaign. And obviously, if you go to these resources, you'll see that they're already working on that, and they're being very, very successful with who they're marketing to and how they're doing it. They've done a number of interesting campaigns in the last few years. They've been around for over 100 years, which is pretty good for a shoe company. And what we need to do is effectively update the text and the images, and they supplied the text. And let me just pop over to this. Can everyone see the photograph? Okay, good. So does anyone recognize where this is in Kirkwood? Has anyone seen this before?
Isn't
Yep.
that right outside our classroom?
Yep, it's in the hallway. So there's like 10 of these old advertisements. And this is one I thought would be relatively easy for us to work with. Um, and so there's this sort of, if you read the text, they talk about this football player coach who comes in. It's this sort of like very like 1950s, 60ish sort of feeling to it. And what you have here is this imagery of these kids, potentially. I think the advertisement is evoking the idea of these kids wanting to be like these football players, these legendary football players. So if you look at the text, the subhead here, big deeds are often done in dreams or born in dreams. So this is evoking that sense of heroic nature of athletes. So whether or not we agree with that, right now the company wants us to take a more modern approach to this. And so they're basically, what we're doing is we are using a pre-existing campaign that they have on their website, but we are applying that idea to this format. And attached should be, yep, a format similar to the inside of this frame in Photoshop. So I've already created the CMYK format for this. What you'll be doing is building out the ad using this text and images. So you'll have to get the KEDS logo image. I wasn't able to get that in time. And then use these three images that you'll have to find and or create. So Pexels is a great free image source. There are others out there, but because this is a school project, I'm not too worried about copyright issues unless you plan to use this in a portfolio piece someday. Uh, but be aware of the print specifications. Again, I set this up. So if you do bring any images into this document, make sure that when you're ready to convert them into CMYK and then place them finally in here. So you don't want RGB and CMYK in the same document for print. And then you'll be submitting a layered PSD and PDF with cropped lead marks, just as if we were going to print this out, as close as we can get to that. And then you're going to do a second version of that in the RGB attachment, 72 DPI for web. And I do want to see a layered PSD and a PNG. So that'll be a flattened output, similar to the PDF. And you're only going to be concerned about what fits on the phone area for that web one. You don't need to show me what's below what you would scroll to. So just that top area. So again, because it's in a modern era, we need to be concerned about both print and digital. And then lastly, of course, just a quick write-up. about your design decisions, what's working, what's not, and have all of these uploaded to Talon. Um, so I think this is to me, this is a fun challenge to take an old idea and make it new. And it's a very, very, very common project for designers, especially website brochures, to say, you get a client who comes in and says, we would like to update this. Sometimes it's just a couple years old. This is obviously an extreme. Um, but usually that's a very common bread and butter sort of part of being a designer is just refreshing things for people. Sometimes they'll supply the images and text. So in this case, we supplied the text. Other times they just sort of like say, I just want this thing new. And you have to kind of like work with them, or maybe you become the writer of the text. It just sort of depends on a case by case basis. So I want to give you guys time to think about that. If there are any questions right now, either in chat or audio, feel free to ask them of me. The due date is going to be for by the 7th at 2:30. And even if you don't get the web version done, I do want you to focus on the print version. Okay, so if you have to basically not finish this, focus on the print version. Any questions from anyone? So we're gonna move on then, unless someone does have a question for me. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna have everyone on their computers. We're gonna do that screen sharing. So I'm gonna stop this one. And we're going to have everyone pull up the PDF of the colorization project. So this is basically what you submitted to Talon. So we're gonna have you do that one, and then you're gonna have you do the file for the typography one later. So I want to give everyone a couple minutes to make sure that they've gotten their PDF for the colorization project ready, and then we'll basically go person by person around the virtual classroom. Go ahead and let me know in the chat when you're ready so I can get a sense of how we're doing. So it looks like most everyone is ready with the colorization PDF project file. So I'm going to just start in the order that I have. So, Ash, are you able to share your screen with us?
Yes.
All right, go ahead and do so. So I'm looking at this. You have the woman in the swimsuit, and it looks like you colorized her skin. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then you did the uniform and the hat on Elvis, and then I think you did a box with the child with the books.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the helmet, and then the beam. Good. So I'm looking at this, and from what I can tell at this size of my Zoom, it looks really good. The selections look good. I'll give everyone more feedback when I look at the files more directly. So when I'm looking at the helmet and this person, the eyes are pretty good. What I see here is the dog tag necklace and some of the other areas that are darker in shadow. It looks a little bit like overpainted, like too much maybe. If you look at the collar area and the brim area and the helmet, it kind of feels like the paint is or the detail is just not quite right, like it's too flat. So be careful there. And then on the helmet, it's a little bit difficult to see the camouflage pattern. So I would suggest, and this is on the large one especially, I would suggest finding a way to get that camouflage pattern to kind of show through whatever colors put up there. All right, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking really good though. All right, let's go ahead and close that down. Augusto, are you ready?
Sure. Can you see it?
I can see some of it.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with my.
Yeah, I
Uh,
can I I can see some of it. If you can zoom out a little bit, do you like command?
there we go.
Yeah, there you go. Good. He looks a little bit sunburned.
Oh, he's just tan.
There's and it might be because you have like the water behind him looks a little purple on my screen, and his uniform is bright red. Like he just looks like to me he looks a little sunburned on my screen. I can't tell what you colored on the bulletproof vest
It's the
picture.
arm on the other side holding the gun. The arm and
Okay.
the gun.
Okay.
It's just that it's kind of far away.
Okay, I can see it a little bit now. Thank you. Yeah, the detailing on the woman with the barrel is really good. The helmet's looking good. Most people when they do the soldier with the goat, they usually focus on the bananas because
Oh,
that's like the transactional object between the two, the human and the animal. Can you zoom out again? There we go. Yeah. So I'm looking at the other characters on the larger picture, and it's really interesting to see how you shaded them. It looks really good. Nice job there. Very good.
thanks.
Yep. Bree?
David,
Hi.
my PDF isn't opening. I try to like open it from Talon. I'm trying to resave it, my document as a PDF as we speak.
Okay, we can come back to you.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Kaylor,
All right, well, one second, I gotta figure out how to share my screen.
do you see the green button at the bottom middle?
Oh, yeah.
This may be the very first time that someone's colored him blue. What did you color with the child with the ducks?
Oh, I colored the, like the, I'll zoom in.
Thank you.
Kind of right here.
Okay. It's hard to see
Yeah.
from yeah. Um and most people, I'm not saying this is good or bad, most people usually focus on the ducks. And it's because it's the object of the child's attention and it's a distraction from the medical, treatment, polio, or I can't remember what the treatment was. So it's similar to the bananas. Like it's this object that's sort of unexpected, but it's sort of like the focal point in many cases. The coloring you have going on at the soldier and Elvis is pretty interesting. I'm wondering if it might be just a little bit too red on the soldier's,
Yeah, it's too red right here.
yeah, compared to the right. Like if I look at the black and one over here, like on the colored one, it looks like we're losing some of those freckles. Like it's almost like pasty white, and especially in the nose. In the nose, you would expect to have some more coloring because of it's not always protected by the brim. But the area that's like right around the soldier's left eye is really interesting. Yeah, I think, just kind of with practice, everyone in here with practice will get a better sense of how much is too much or too little. And every photo is slightly different. So if you look up at Elvis, I think again, it's like a little bit too harsh, almost like it's like someone has painted him, right? It's not too bad, but you can see by looking at the black and white that we're losing some of the detail in the skin and the shading. Let's see. Can you zoom out for a moment? Yeah, the barrel's looking good. Yeah, so the Statue of Liberty face that you have there. So some people paint it green and some
Oh,
people
yeah, I
paint it.
didn't really know what it was.
No, it's fine. And some people paint it in the copper color because if it's new, it won't have that green tint to it at that point. So either way, I'm fine with. Some people ignore it and put attention on the people who are standing in front of it, but that gives you a nice sense of scale of the face of the Statue of Liberty. And then let's look the lifeguard. I think that's who that is. That's a really nice job. So to me, the upper skin tones, the face and the arms seem pretty good from what I can tell. The legs, especially the right leg and the lower calf on the other leg, look a little bit almost like metallic-y on my screen. And I know that the lighting is a little strong there. So in my eyes, it doesn't quite fit with the upper skin tones as much, but I think you did a good job. So if you look at that, like that shadow along the right leg, I think is what is creating the big challenge for people. It's a very harsh sort of side shadow. And if you just paint it like in a uniform way, and I haven't looked at your file to see if it's not, you're going to get a uniform sort of flatness to that shape, almost like they like spray painted their leg or something. But good job. Bree, are you ready?
Okay, so I try to resave it, but it's not letting me resave it.
You have to do, did do an export? Export from InDesign?
No, I didn't.
Okay. If you export from InDesign, either as the package or just the file open export to PDF, you can generate the PDF from that file.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Do you want us to come back to you?
Yeah, could you do
Okay.
one more?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Galena, let's have you go next.
So yeah, this is
Good. You took on the Zeppelin. I see. Yep. Yeah, for some reason, people like to make the lifeguard's uniform red. It's just a thing. And you did the woman with the spray-on suntan. Cool. Yeah, I think like if you look at the woman, can you zoom in on the lower left corner?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So, and you probably can't see my cursor, but yeah, Galena, if you could put the cursor over the actual spray.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you did a good job. It's a little bit hard to see like in the original,
Mm.
but I think that I think she's spraying, right? And
Yeah.
you did good job of animating it in a way, like showing like there's something coming out and it's hitting her arm. So I think like overall, like especially in the face area, you did a good job with the shadow and not getting into her hair really. I think like and this is weird because if you look in the black and white, her hand is very pale. Like it's almost like she's wearing a glove or something. It's just,
Yeah.
and it might just be the direction of her hand, but it's a good job. Let's move over to the Zeppelin. There you go. So I've had people who've chosen the Zeppelin do very dramatic things with it, like they've added extra special effects and colors to it. I think this is a more natural appearance, and if you study, footage of flames and things, you can see like there's more colors in there than just orange or just red. There's a variation. So you did a good job. Can you slide the large soldier over to us? Yeah. That's a very, very good treatment on the soldier. You did not lose the skin detail. There are some areas that look a little bit painted over, like around the eye and nose. I think the lips also could probably be slightly colored differently. And then pulling that camouflage out is also important. But very good job. Very, very good. Let's go ahead and close that. Good job, Galena. Very good. Bree, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right, go ahead and share.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, I can. So let's see here. You did the table with the kids, the vest, the band, and can you zoom? Yep, you did the ducks. Can you zoom in on the girl with the doll? There we go. Bree did a very good job with the detailing here on the doll, and she was very careful not to get the girl, as far as I can tell. The one area that looks like it might have gotten painted over is her left hand's thumb, maybe. But overall, I think that's, if you see that, like the girl is looking right at the photographer, the way that her eyes are positioned. So she's watching someone watching her while she's holding this doll. It's a very intimate moment. And we don't know if she's playing. We don't know if she's like using this doll as therapy. There's just an unknown going on here. But I think that Brie did a very nice job accentuating the colors there. Could you zoom out and over to the large picture? There we go. Yeah, you did a great job as well with this. So I feel like the way that you colored the helmet, right? And you basically looked at the lighting on that was going on there. So you have this sort of almost brighter or harsher light coming down, which kind of fades out the top. So we can see the camouflage more. So that makes his helmet look more worn, right? So like maybe his helmet has been in the war longer than his uniform. The lips look a little bit too purple on my screen. But other than that, the coloring looks fine. And the eyes are really interesting color. They're not, to me, they're not quite blue or not quite green. They're kind of in this in-between area. The war is hellband is very easy to read. So I think it's interesting you have this sort of brighter light coming down, and you can kind of see the reflections off of his chin and nose that make that fit in there pretty well. The one area that's a little bit problematic for most people too is the chain. Getting the chain to be a different color without it looking overpainted is very challenging. So great job on that, Bree. Good job.
Thank you.
Nadine, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So we've got the hair on the woman, eyes, the vest, helmet, leggings. Let's zoom in on the girl. That's good. So see, overall your selections are pretty good. The one thing that I would have you work on is uh, either the blending mode or how you're applying your selection layers, because they look very flat compared to the photo that they're on top of. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if it's something that we want to workshop a little bit more or whatnot. The eyes are, I think, a little bit more effective. Like, it doesn't seem as flat as, say, like the helmet on the soldier or the socks on the girl. So I think what I would practice doing is when you have a selection, and your selections are pretty clean, is getting the right blend mode on its own layer. So have the selection on its own layer, and then seeing how much is enough. You might need to make multiple selections depending on the shadows and the light going on. And you should see this in the fruit plate project, that you can't just have one selection over a piece of fruit because of how the light follows around and disappears on the shapes. So I think that's something that we can work on. Could you zoom out for a moment? What is the shape that's supposed to be in the large photo area?
The
Is that the Zeppelin?
yeah, the balloon.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So yeah, definitely we're gonna want to be more subtle with the application of those selections so that we can see the detail that's behind that. Good. Well, thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
All right. Omar, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right, go ahead and share. On the one picture, you decided to do the background of the woman instead of the woman, and then the steps and wall behind the boy. Elvis gets picked a lot. It's looking good. Can you zoom in on the boy, the shoes, and then yeah, just scroll so we can see it a little bit better. Yeah, your selections are looking good. It's just unusual to see the figure in the foreground not be colorized. So it's nice to see this. Good. And then let's pan over to the large soldier. Yeah, so I'm looking at the detail that, again, good subtlety. The eyes on anything with a face, the eyes are what really sells it typically. So good job. I can see the detail in the eyes. What we don't want to do is make the whites of the eyes too white, and that varies from photo to photo depending on lighting. But if you make them too white, it makes them look supernatural. So you want to be careful with that. But you did a good job here. So everyone who's doing the soldiers, there's quite a number of you. You have your own style and you have your own treatment of it. And I think we're seeing a nice variety here. Another thing to be careful with is the inside flesh area that's between like the nose and the eyeball. Often that has a slightly different color, pink too. So like these little details with the lips and things, when you get more experience doing faces, you'll think about those and you'll start addressing those more regularly. Good job, Omar. Very good. All right, Ryan, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead.
There we go. Okay, sorry.
Very nice. So I feel like if we put, and someone else did the woman with the swimsuit on the one with the background, we'd have a fully colored person. I think the coloring on Elvis's uniform is very nice. It's the darker, drabber green, and then we can see that gold in the USA, which might be gold, yellow, white, not sure. And then you went with the ducks and the bananas, which is very common. Let's go ahead and pan over and zoom in on the large soldier picture. Yeah, good job. You're all doing very well with this. So I think one of the things, I don't have them all side by side to look at them, but I think like Ryan did a very good job with the lips here. And also, I think she may have added a little bit of dirt to the top of the helmet by that tear that's up there, whatever that is. So I think, everyone, like I said, has their own like sort of take on these images. And so everyone's going to have an area that really works or is challenging to them. So yeah, good job with that. Did anyone, I just put this out to everyone, did anyone look at any source images, like from actual materials or anything at home as a reference point?
Yeah, all of mine were.
Yours were?
Yeah.
So you looked at what did you look at?
So I found images online that
Mm-hmm.
had similar lighting to the objects.
Mm-hmm.
And then from those images I made color palettes going from like the shadows to the highlights. And then I used gradient maps over all of my things, and then I inverted the mask, and then I painted in the thing and then added details where I needed to.
That is awesome. Did anyone else do that? I think you might be the first student who has mentioned that. Good. I think that the detail on them is very strong. The lighting is very strong. I have a friend in New York right now who's raising chickens because his kids want chickens. So I'm sure if he were to be doing this, he'd be looking at his chickens. But good job. Haley, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Can you see it?
I think so.
Okay.
Can you zoom in?
Let me.
There's a lot of like yellow tones in this.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like you may not have done the large picture correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we're looking for is to fit as best you can into that template space.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, and you can rearrange your composition if you want, because if you go with this one, it's more of a landscape than a portrait.
Yeah.
But can you zoom in on the full color
Yeah.
person? Can you zoom in a little bit more?
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. So you got the grass and the weeds and the wall and the skin tones. Yeah, it's kind of a bleak scene
Mm.
with the white picket fence. Yeah, so from what I can see of your selections, they look very nice, very good. I would just potentially redo that large one and resubmit it if you want. But yeah, looking good. Good job.
Thanks.
Nathan, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right. Could you zoom in on the soldier with the goat?
Yep.
I like how your helmet, you keep the reflections and dirt and things on there. Like you keep the shadows. So it looks like what we would expect a helmet to. It's just got a nice green cast on it. And then can you scroll up to the child with the books? It's right above it. Similarly, I think you did a good job keeping the dust and the wrinkles in the sleeves and things. And that's definitely, trial and error of getting that just right. And with this color blue, you may have overpainted the lower part of the jacket just a little bit. It's under his arm. It's harder to see that because he has like a lighter colored coat and you've added a lot of darkness. So if you were to colorize this whole image, I would expect like some other areas to be brighter to kind of contrast that. But you did a really good job there. Let's go over to the large picture. So you made the camouflage area very strong contrast. Eyes are looking good. Yeah, I'd say like the dominant challenge for people is the lip area, the skin tones. The chain for the dog tags in this coloration makes it look brassy. It might just be a flesh tone that was overlaid on it, instead of that sort of silvery effect. And then your army patch is white. Yeah, I like how you preserved a lot of the details in the helmet. And the uniform is a little bit out of focus because of how the person photographed this. So it's really good to keep those wrinkles in there so we can get our brain can say, we know exactly what that is. Yeah, great job.
Right. Perfect.
Ricardo?
Give me a second. I'm trying to. Can you see it?
Yeah, that is a bright skirt on that lady.
Yeah.
So let's take a look here. So could you scroll down and zoom in on Christopher and Winnie the Pooh? So I feel like similar to another student's, you're maybe overpainting a little bit on the details. So we're losing some of that detail in the original image. And so you might need to be a little bit more selective, have multiple selections of areas, or use like a mesh or something to kind of really get in and around those areas. What we don't want to have is like a uniform flatness on an object that has more depth to it. Could you zoom out and go to the large picture? The flatness that's going on here, and I feel like the colors themselves on the soldier's face are pretty good, but I feel like it's almost like like you put a filter on his face in Photoshop, and
Yeah. Looking at it again, it looks really like too bright. Like.
yeah, it looks almost like you took like posterize or something like that to it. It
Yeah.
just doesn't. Yeah, like, but his eyes have more depth on my screen. So it's like a mask. If everything in the image had this similar sort of treatment to it, it would look like it all fit in. But on my screen, the face and the eyes don't match, and so it really looks like it's a mask of a face. It's kind of weird. So I think exactly like just like looking at that attention, pulling back, adding and subtracting different levels will help you there. All right, thank you. Noah, are you ready? Could you zoom in on the child with the books? You really paid attention to the details in here. It looks very good. On my screen, I think I know why. I think it's the dirt on the child's face and on their hand. It makes it look a little bit almost purpley, but I think it's just dirt. But the attention on the shirt, the vest and things, it's very nicely done. And I like that you didn't have the exact same color on the suit coat as you have on the pants. I think that's very fitting for that. Could you zoom out and over to the Christopher and Winnie the Pooh? Yeah, so very nice attention to detail with your selections. You even got that little lock of hair that's kind of in the back of the head. Yeah, the skin tones are looking very good. The fur doesn't look flattened by the color. And then could you zoom in on the girl who's holding the doll? That's very well done. So did you use any special tricks or treatments like Ryan did?
What I just did is I just used the quick selection tool, and then I went into quick mask mode to kind of like refine the edges of the selection. And then I just did a solid color fill of the mask, and then did the color blending option on top of each selection.
Yeah. The face, like the shadow, as you follow the shadows along the face and the knees, like there's no harsh like flattening. So it's a very, very well done selection. Very good.
Thanks.
Yeah. Excellent. Rachel, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, can you see?
Yes. So you decided to add splashes of colors to things. I see. Lipstick on Liberty, lifeguard. All right, let's zoom in on the soldier. Good job with the detail on the helmet, on the face, the inside of the eyes, and then could you zoom out one more level? Yeah, good job with your selections and lighting. Very tidy and fun because, you know, who wouldn't wear a purple gas mask, I guess. Yeah, the eyes are very nice. Kept all that detail in there. The white for your image might be a little bit too strong in there compared to the overall lighting going on. But yeah, good selections. Awesome. I feel like we could have a portrait gallery of just the soldier pictures. All right. Olivia, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you see that?
Yep. Yep. Oh, awesome. See, let's zoom in on the sign on that spray tan. Looks very good. Kept all the shadows. So how did you select that? Did you just make a shape, or what did you do with that?
So I selected it using I think it was quick selection, and then I turned it into a mask
Mm-hmm.
and put and basically painted on it, and then I had it on color mode,
Mm-hmm.
and some of them are on color mode, some of them are on different modes depending on what looked better.
Mm-hmm. Good. Let's go ahead and look at the soldier, the large one. Your guys' eyes are a little bit greener or browner, hazel maybe. And the lips are a little bit pinker. The detail and selections are very good. All right. So some of you, be careful on the small images. I think I saw a couple that were slightly distorted so that the height and width were not 100% original. So just be careful with that. Yeah, that's a great job. Good job, Olivia. So Seamus, were you able to work on this, Seamus? Seamus, are you able to speak or type in the chat? Okay. So I think we have Livia. Is there anyone else that needs to present on this project? Okay. Go ahead, Livia.
Can you see it?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Just waiting for it to finish loading. There we go. So let's zoom in on the lady with the suntan spray. What I see here is a flattening of the detail. And so we're losing some of that shadow, some of that light across the form. You're in a class together, and you're welcome, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, it's up to you. You're welcome to talk and like say, how did you do that, right? Because we're here to learn. We're not here to like guard our secrets or anything. So if you see someone else's project and you're like, how did you get that angle, or how did you get that colorization? Feel free to inquire, okay? I want you to be comfortable doing that because everyone has their strengths and weaknesses going on here. So one of the things that jumps out to me on this lady is the section over where her ear is. I think,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
It
some
was
of that is hair coming up around it too. So I think if you don't get the right things, and because she's probably like a blonde color would be my guess. So it blends into her skin a little bit because the shadow there is not very strong. So it's hard to kind of tell where her hair and her ear begin and end. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, like the background near the left side of her hair is kind of almost the same gray. So this is a very challenging one to actually pull off because her skin, her hair, the background, they're all kind of in a similar sort of lighter color mode. And so I applaud those of you who have been very successful with getting her to pop out properly without losing the details. This is one of the more challenging ones. So when you're going through, again, you might need to do multiple selections or use a special mask or gradient to kind of keep that detail in the image. Otherwise, it's going to look a little bit too flat like this. And she's got like a watch or something on her arm. You don't want that to like look like it's been lost and it's like her arm has this weird thing sticking out of.
And what Ryan said about doing the gradient maps,
Mm-hmm.
and then Noah with like the color blending there, I think that was a good idea, which I would do next.
Yeah, like most students in this class don't usually use the gradient mask because it's kind of a more advanced tool. But if you want to go above and beyond and like go look at YouTube tutorials or whatever, or follow people who are really into digital imaging manipulation, that's go for it, right? If this is something that you're very passionate about and you want to get better at, you're going to have to go above and beyond what we can cover in the time that we have. Yeah, exactly. Like we've got people with all sorts of talents in here. Let's share some of that. Could you go over to the large picture?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you zoom in on that, so I can see some like, I don't know what to call it, like white edges between the skin
Yeah.
tone of the face and that like reddish background, like like in the front of the face. Yeah, and under the chin and around the hair. So like the edges of some of your selections are like they're not aligned properly with the other colors that are nearby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's just something like if there's like a different mask or a tool to kind of help make those edges that should not be so harsh, smoother. Same thing with the top of the teddy bear. There's like a little bit sliver of a color that doesn't look like it matches. Yeah, exactly. So, and when you're looking at lighting, like there's the lighting off of the arm that Christopher Robbins is holding up. There's the sleeve, and there's that like bright edge that,
Yeah.
and I think in part because the color contrast there against the background makes it pop more. So all of these things that we're working together, the background color, the foreground color, they all kind of interact in different ways. And so you want to be careful. Like you have this sort of shadow band on the top of the arm, and then you have one on the bottom, which makes it look like a strange sort of weird drop shadow on the right
Yeah.
arm. Yeah. But otherwise, like I think your intentions are good, the colors are good. It's just a matter of finding the right tool that will work with this image.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good job.
Thanks.
Yep. All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to stay with Livia, and if that's okay, and have you open up your typography project. Awesome. Good. That's very nice. So like, I don't know about you, but if this is a project that I worked on, I'd hang it up as a poster in my room. That looks very good. Good annotation, good alignment at the top with the names. Yeah, good kerning there. Good. Briefly, why did you choose these fonts for your name?
So I use like PT Sands'
Mm-hmm.
Waypoints brand
Mm-hmm.
font. So I kind of use it with like everything now. And then I chose the permanent marker because I liked it. I think it's like because I don't like the script fonts that are like super extra.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like very subtle.
Some
Yeah.
of those fonts, they only work in the right context. Like they're very busy, and sometimes they only work with like the first letter or like it just depends. Like some of the letter forms are very difficult to read. Good. Well, thank you for sharing. Let's go back here. Ash, are you able to share your typography project?
Yeah.
All right. Oh my gosh. You get the whole name, Ashley. That looks very nice. So why did you choose these fonts?
I was looking at other types that you can get in Adobe type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these work fairly well together at the top too. Like most of the letter forms are fairly well aligned to each other. Depending on what fonts you choose, you might have, your words might be significantly wider or taller. It looks very good. Great job. Thanks. All right, Ricardo?
I can't find the one with the annotations. Like I don't, not all of them anyway. Like I don't think I saved it. I'm trying to find it. Do you still want me to share like
Why don't
just
why don't we well if you want we could come back to you later too if you want to keep looking for it.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean I'm not sure if I saved it or not, but yeah, I'll keep looking
Okay.
for it.
Sure. Augusto?
I got you. Just a second. Okay, so I didn't really get the annotations part when I was doing it, but I can submit it later.
That would be great. Yeah. Guto?
Yep.
So why did you choose these fonts?
Well, there wasn't really a reason behind it. I was just looking for stuff that fit in the descriptions,
Mm-hmm.
Just trying to find something different for like the script. I wouldn't want a calligraphy thing because those are really cancer.
I think there's some interesting, like what I like doing is looking how the letter forms change shape when you layer them, right? Whether it's graffiti, whether it's an exercise like this, like looking at it as a shape versus a letter or a word, I think it can be really interesting. And if you have your own cropping tools, you can find some really cool, like abstract shapes that you can build from, like patterns or backgrounds and things. You got this sort of double O thing near the end, makes it look like a ring or something. And like the way that you have your G placed on there, it's got this neat, like that last layer looks like a cast shadow. All right. Omar, are you able to share? Thank you, Gusto.
Yeah.
Omar, are you able to share?
Right.
There you are. Okay. So I'm gonna just point this out, and you can change it if you want. Arial black is not what we're looking for display font. In fact, Arial itself is a very common body copy. Arial black might be used for emphasis or with some headers, but for display, we're looking for something that's a little bit unusual. And you may not be as familiar with unusual fonts, but if you look at display fonts, do a Google, you might come up with some that are a little bit crazier than the other ones. But the way that they are currently listed, especially at the top, it's very legible. It's like creating like this multiple hypnotic color thing, especially with that brush script, kind of is this diagonal. It's pulling you through it. So I would be sure to go through and change your display font, your and make sure that you have the labels and the names below it. So if you have serif, put the name of the font below it and so forth, like in the template. And then definitely get the annotation in there. But otherwise, looking really interesting. Thank you. Nadine, are you able to present?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, there we go. Can you zoom in a little bit? Okay, so typically a script or a font like Courier is not a script font. Courier's more of a machine font because of its monotype nature. So I would find a different sort of script font. Script fonts are based off of handwriting, so calligraphy, graffiti, sort of, it has a sort of cursive or handwritten feel to it. Let's see. Your Krungthep font, your sans serif at the bottom, that I would probably label more of a display font because that would be very difficult to read as a body copy, as a sans serif beyond like headings. So if you put Avenir, down there as your sans serif and put Krungthep up at display, I think you'll resolve that. Just make sure you keep the correct colors and so forth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just make sure up on the label area to have what font type and then the font name below it. So you're going to have the appropriate, whether it's serif, sans serif, brush script, or otherwise. Good. Thanks for sharing. Okay. Rachel, are you able to share?
Yes.
There we go. Got some annotation. Yes. There we go. That is crazy. Love it. Phosphate. So why did you choose these?
I really like Gill Sans. I think it's probably my favorite sans serif, and I was familiar with Bedoni, but had never really broken down its components before. And then I'm not familiar with Phosphate or the round hand font and thought they looked interesting, so I picked them because I'd never really seen them before.
Yeah, that's a very legible script font. It's very clear. Very good. I am very familiar with Gill Sans from my school days. And let's see. What I would just as a comment on yours is the kerning, the spacing between letters. On the Gill Sans, the R and the A might be a little bit too far away. And I know with the serif one, Bodoni, because Bodoni have all these little like flourishes and things and some other fonts. Think I think you're kind of stuck with having extra space between the R and the A, unless you know make a ligature or some other combination with
Okay.
that ending there. But on the sans serif one, it's you definitely have a little bit too much space. And same thing with phosphate. What you might need to do with a font like phosphate is give the other letters a little bit more spacing, because that RA just has so much room in between
Hmm.
the middle of it. But yeah, I think it works really well. I think you got a nice contrast in there between, especially if you look at top with the Bedoni and the phosphate, those thin and thick letters make some really interesting shapes. Great job. Thanks for annotating. Noah, are you ready?
Unfortunately, I don't have mine quite done yet.
Okay, that's fine. Ricardo, have you been able to figure your thing out?
Yeah, no, I don't have the annotations.
Okay, so we'll wait on that. Ryan, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Look at those descenders. I've never seen Ropstone before. So why did you choose these fonts?
I don't know. I was just kind of drawn to them, and they fit the labels. So I just,
So with your Bodoni, you have this sort of, you have the serif on the Y at the X height, and then the R. So it kind of helps fill in some of that space. Whereas the A next to it, there's a little bit, perhaps too much space there. So you have the rye and the an. But yeah, it's looking really good. It's interesting to see the differences, you know, the same point size, but the different X heights, like you have with Ropstone and with the other fonts. That blue just sort of sticks on top up there. All right. Thank you for sharing.
yeah.
Nathan,
Yep.
are you able to present? All right, there he is.
Yes.
There we go. So why did you choose these fonts?
No real specific reason, I guess. Just sort of went with the categories and then just scrolled through the different fonts they had and sort of choose the ones I liked.
What I think, like what jumps out at me, and thanks for annotating it. What jumps out at me is like when you look at the top one, the script font hits those sort of, almost hits perfectly those corners of that N, that large N on the, from the, is it Cochin or Kokin? Not sure how to pronounce that. So it's almost like a highlighter effect going on there. And then because of the very different X height from impact rising above, almost like if you look at the top, like the A is as tall as the capital height from the other font. So I think that's a really interesting contrast you have there. Yeah. No, it looks really sharp. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, you bet.
Kaylor?
Yep. 1 second.
Alrighty. Good annotations. So like I like your C's in the corner. It's almost like wind or something has caught your magneto, pulling it away from the other ones. And then you got your descenders. And then because of Magneto has that strong diagonal, it almost feels like the L is falling away and the R falling away from the letters. Nathan had a very strong like green cast in his letters, and there's a little bit of that going on in here with the different colors overlapping. So why did you choose these fonts?
Not really a particular reason, but I used Magneto in an older project, another class. So I just figured I'd use it again.
Yeah, looks good. Thank you for sharing. Bree, have you already gone?
No, I have not.
Okay, go ahead if you're ready. Oh, very cool, very fun. That source serif variable, that is really thin.
Yeah, I really like it.
I don't know how well that would work as a body copy at that thinness, but I can definitely see like a Roman version of that working really well. But it's very sharp. I like the ease. They're very cool. And yeah, your script is very condensed. It's just sort of a nice accent in the top of your word overlay. And I think that HWT does a nice sort of background framing against the other ones. So like I really want you all to keep looking at at shapes and how shapes interact and colors and layers, so that even if you don't have a legible word, just a section of it, that becomes a piece of art that can convey some feeling or information to somebody. Very nicely done.
Thank you.
Okay, Galena.
Yeah, let me pull it up. Okay.
There we go. Shapeza. So why did you choose these fonts?
I don't know. I was looking through like my font list, and these ones just, I don't know, popped out at me.
I think the A in that Shapeza is really interesting.
Mhm.
The counter and the shape of it. That G is very unusual too. It looks like you're missing a font name. I think that's a Gil Sans or something similar to that on the bottom. Your sans
Oh
serif.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah.
Um.
Well, we can take care of it later too.
Okay.
Yeah, let's take a look at this. So then you've got Strong Glasgow. Yeah, so there's like a nice sort of sweeping between the yellow and the blue, sort of sweeping line to the top that carries you through. Yeah, I think that's very good selections. Thank you very much. So who has not gone yet? I'm losing track of names here. Olivia, I think you haven't gone yet. Thank you. Ah,
I didn't
go ahead.
realize we had to do annotations, so I'll add those.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. I would probably suggest that Salom is not a sans serif body copy, so I might change that out.
Okay.
But phosphate, it's good. Source verif is good. And I can't read the name of, what is the name of your script font?
Snell Roundhand.
Okay, yeah. I think at the top, the source serif O going through the phosphate is really interesting. Some nice bold and moving lines. Very good. Yeah, so I would swap out the sans serif and then do the annotation, but otherwise it looks great.
Okay.
Thank you. And we have Haley. Go ahead. Awesome. It's like a really interesting, like fun shape going on top.
Yeah.
Like almost like it's painted. It's really interesting. I would also say that your sans serif Potson one is probably not a good body copy.
Okay.
And it's very close to being a script font.
Okay.
I would probably change that out. But in terms of like how it looks at top, it looks like you almost like hand painted or airbrushed it in there. It's a very fun play of the letters. And I can't quite see, could you zoom in on that a little bit?
Yeah.
On
the
the
top part.
No, on the like bottom words. I don't see indications like arrows or anything signifying where those things are, like where the terminal is, where the finial is. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like
I forgot to do that part.
okay. I just see the words and like, yes, those
Yeah.
are words. But otherwise, yeah, it's well done. Very good.
Okay. Thanks.
Is there anyone else that I missed? Anyone that would like to go? Seamus, anyone? I'm not seeing any messages or hearing anyone. I guess what I'd like to hear from the classes with these last two projects, the colorizing and the typography, what did you feel that you got out of doing them? What insights or experiences did you have? And you can announce it over the audio or in the chat, whichever works for you.
With colorization, it really made me like go out and look for different techniques to do it. There's like a lot of different ways to do it, and yeah, that's pretty much it for that one.
Yeah, there's like we could probably do, if we were crazy, probably do like an entire semester just on color in Photoshop because there's so much going on with it, especially if you work from camera raw and you just build out all your channels and everything. That like for people who like want to have a career in like fixing images, like colorizing images, that's a whole intense thing. So we got some more comments here. Adding color to black and white photos. Yeah, right. That's kind of the fun of what we're doing here. Is like, what would this look like, right? And if you have access to like a reference material, like an actual piece of clothing or a photo or something, that just makes it sing. Was there anything from the typography project that was of interest? Some of you probably have more experience with type than others.
I think that since last semester we did a big project on that, it's kind of a good review of what we did and kind of retouching on typography just to make sure we know everything and we're keeping up to date with knowledge and
Yeah,
stuff, you know?
yeah. And it design keeps changing. Um, Someone mentioned some free downloadable fonts aren't. Yes, they are. So the ones that you get from professional font foundries are usually much easier to work with. So the ones that are for free, you kind of get what you pay for. Some are really nice, but you can trust more often the ones that you pay for are going to be a better quality. And there are some designers who, that becomes their thing. They work with fonts. That's their career. So I definitely, if you're interested in looking into that more, pursue it. Some of you might really be interested in designing your own font one day. Good. Okay. Are there any questions about anything that we've done about the ad revamp project or anything heading into the next week? Any questions or comments? Okay, I'm not hearing anything or seeing anything in the chat window yet. So yeah, please review the specifications. And if you have any questions over any of the assignments, go ahead and shoot me an email. I will be checking that over the weekend. And I hope you have fun with it. This ad revamp is a very realistic sort of project that designers get all the time. But I hope you have fun with the images and with making it. Maybe it'll give you a little bit of a creative break from some of your other homework. And then next week, we're going to start in on the larger, more intense projects leading up to the end of the semester, the montage and the collage project. So hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel in a few weeks, and we'll be moving on to whatever's next for you. So thank you very much. Thanks for sharing your projects, and we'll meet up again next Tuesday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe.